Thanks for joining us for This Week in Jacksonville Business Edition. I am so glad you're here. Our guest today, Dr. Josh Gellers, a UNF professor who serves as the first faculty fellow for AI, also director of the Digital Humanities Institute. And we're talking about, you've also got a political science background and interest here. Really diverse background and really interesting guests. So thank you for being with us. One of these things that just happens is sometimes something catches your attention and then it turns into a great interview. That's what happens for a journalist like me. Something caught my attention a few weeks ago. I think it was like September 8th. This news release came out about there's a new AI for Work and Life certificate program, and we're opening it up to everybody. So let's start there. This is a course. It's free. And already it's been wildly successful. It started a week ago. Is that about right?
That's right. I mean, so just today we were able to completely overpass the 20,000 registrant mark. And so we are delighted to have that kind of reception. And the idea is to make this something that's very different than what other certificate programs are offering. And that is to provide a soup to nuts explanation of what AI is and how it can be applied in your personal and professional lives.
How are those things different? And how will I find out between now and, I don't know, how many courses or sections are there in this course?
So there's a total of 8 modules.
So in 8 modules, yeah.
So, I mean, we begin with what is AI and walk you through everything from prompt engineering to the ethical and social issues that AI is involved in, to how it's applied in high impact industries like law, medicine, and finance. And then ask you at the end, what you thought about all this and how you might be able to apply it profitably in either your personal life or at work.
Dr. Gellers, where did the idea come from? And the adoption of using AI in life, it happened so quickly compared to innovation, adoption in other devices or technologies. It seems like this course probably was something that could come together pretty quickly and say, hey, there's a demand for it. People want to know.
There is a small army behind this. This is not just me. I want to make sure that that's very clear. But the idea really stemmed from our leadership. And in particular, our president and our chief information officer, who wanted UNF to really make a splash and to demonstrate that we are here in Northeast Florida to assist the business community, to help the broader community understand environmental, technological, societal issues, and to bring all that together. And so we were using this as a kind of demonstration piece of what UNF is capable of doing for everybody.
As we were talking and getting ready for our interview today, you referenced a company that we've had on our program before, and that's NLP Logic. So this is a Jacksonville-based company. When I first started talking to them 5, 6, 7 years ago, it was about machine learning. How have they come on to partner with this, and what's their impact in this space even?
So we are delighted that NLP Logics is the origin of, or the sponsor that we have, that is the only one the UNF is partnering with. And they are a leader in the adoption of artificial intelligence, helping organizations to find ways that they can integrate AI into their operating systems and to their practices. And so they are providing resources so that we can engage the community by launching this as broadly as possible. And we also have participants from NLP Logics who are, spoiler alert, part of the certificate as well.
I gotcha. Tell me why this is important and what the impact you hope and your colleagues hope this will be.
So I think it's important because AI seems to be everywhere, and from the activities I engage in the community, there's such a fascination and interest, but also some trepidation and fear about what is this and what does it mean for my children? What does it mean for my job and so on? And so we want to demystify a lot of that and also show that this is a way of taking what UNF can do and providing sort of a basis or a launching pad for bringing people in to pursue other kinds of academic credentials at UNF that are focused around things like emerging technologies, medicine, fintech, and so on.
Yeah, I'm tracking with you. It is definitely in the news. Just this week, I know that we reported that OpenAI, the parent company of ChatGPT, says, hey, we're implementing some parental controls. Why is that? Because the week before, we're talking about, hey, parents have issues with how teens might be using this technology. It seems like knowledge is really valued right now for so many people, whether they're using an AI tool right now or they're just hearing about it and don't know anything yet.
Yeah, I think that that's right. That there are people who are grandparents and are curious about how this is affecting their grandchildren, and there are people who are in mid-level positions wondering if they're going to be automated out of existence. And we want to create more certainty, more understanding around what AI is and is not capable of, and maybe where it's headed in the future.
Walmart even said this past week, hey, we know we're going to use more AI in our business, and we know that's going to change things. Change is meaning some jobs are going away. Some jobs are changing. This actually will create more jobs. Is that the kind of information that people really need to know when it comes to AI and how to use it, not just in personal life, but in business as well?
Yeah, the best way I've heard this characterized is you're not going to be replaced by AI, but you might be replaced by somebody who's using AI. And so I think what we need to do is create sort of a foundation of understanding and the ability for people to utilize this so that they are not on the outside looking in and that they're not going to be swept up in some of those changes. Now, one thing I also want to make sure that I highlight about this is not a new phenomenon, right? Every time we have a technological advance, some kind of major disruption, there are always some kinds of displacements, but there are also new jobs that come around. So for all of the robots that now China is launching in their factories, you're going to need people to fix those robots. You're going to need people still to design those robots. You're going to need people who are still checking what's going on the factory floor and so on. That's just one example. But if you go further back in history, we've had lots of different tools that have been developed over time. It's not as if the typewriter made writing obsolete, right? We still write, we still do that. So I think we have to take the long view. And instead of being sort of fear mongers about what AI can do to disrupt everybody and cast us out of our jobs, think about what it can do that's positive, be aware and guarded against some of the negative impacts, but prepare society for that transition. And I think that's what we're trying to do.
How are you seeing, and I got a note here that UNF believes in weaving responsible AI use into curriculum throughout all programs, administrative operations. How are you seeing AI used in your job or your field right now?
So, there's AI that's being used in teaching in unbelievable ways. Some of my colleagues are doing things with AI agents, tutoring, so that they can provide customized learning opportunities for students who are learning at different paces. People who are using it to enliven historical documents and literature in a way that was simply not fathomable in the past. And then there's research side, research about AI and using AI to supercharge research. And there, of course, are pitfalls associated with that. For instance, this is sort of the example that we talk about in the research world. Someone is using ChatGPT to generate an entire article, and then someone on the other side is using ChatGPT to review it. And so the computer is essentially reviewing its own work. That to me is a real issue because there are hallucinations that can happen. There are really big mistakes. There are synthetic data that can be completely manufactured and that will not be expressive of reality. So what we do need are better guidelines, guardrails, and more than anything else, a conversation about the ways in which we should be using AI and the places that we should prohibit its use.
So Dr. Josh Gellers, a UNF professor, is with us today, first faculty fellow for AI. And you just used a phrase that I didn't know until I got involved in the first course that was being offered here. So you used the phrase, there can be hallucinations. What does that mean in AI?
Basically, it just refers to a broad suite of AI outputs that are incorrect in minor or extremely dramatic ways. So everything from AI says, this is an example from my life where I asked it to do a very simple calculation and it came back and had a ranking system where two of the values were switched. And I presented that to, then it was ChatGPT, and it said, oh, sorry, I made a mistake. Thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah.
Now, I had to know something about statistics and be able to look at this, right? Completely manufacturing events, people, political messages, things like that are totally fictitious, but nevertheless generated from this, this soup of data that is used to train these models.
What are the ways that it improves? Obviously, it's even in the short time that we've had ChatGPT or some other AI tool, we've seen it improving pretty rapidly. What are the ways that we see it continue to improve so we have fewer hallucinations?
For instance, we've seen improvements in its ability to reference source material and to provide that information so that we can make decisions about which sources are valid or not. That has been really helpful, but also scary if you're a professor who's grading papers and you're not necessarily knowing where these citations are coming from. If you pay for, in some cases, a premium account for some of these tools, it has up to the minute kind of information. So you're not going to be using data that was trained 2 years ago or something, which is going to be very outdated. So the recency with which it can utilize information and produce outputs is also improved over time. And I think in general, most of the accuracy for the kinds of techniques and activities that we're utilizing it for, those sorts of things have improved over time. Just looking at things like the output of an early GPT model versus where we are now with GPT-5. Your ability to customize that, right? It's a big difference. The way that Ethan Mollick, the professor at UPenn, talks about this is today's AI will be the worst AI you will ever use. And I think that largely holds true.
Yeah. I'm thinking about, again, some of the changes that we've seen just in the short time that some of us have started using it. And some of that, I think, is word of mouth. A colleague says, hey, have you tried this? Hey, have you just, or for somebody who's in their 50s and has 20-year-old, young adults in the house, Dad or Mom, haven't you tried this? Mm-hmm. Let me show you. What's the what are the characteristics of the students in this course that we're talking about? That some 20,000 people have already said, yeah, I want to know more about this AI for work and life.
The reality is it's extremely diverse. We have people from all over the world. I've looked at the data. Even people in Kazakhstan, where I gave a talk a little while ago, they registered.
All over the world.
All over the world. And there are people who are, everyone who's maybe a recent high school graduate, who's looking to make a transition into technology, to parents, to lifelong learners who, again, are interested and don't know too much about AI, and everyone in between. So it's really kind of serving as a catch-all for people that is irrespective of their current level of technological sophistication. So we want to provide this for anyone who's really interested in AI but doesn't know where to start.
Yeah. What would you advise people if they're getting started on prompts? As I understand it, and in my little bit of experience here, boy, what I prompt the tool to do, that really has a big impact on what it generates, what's produced.
Right, so there's this phrase which actually pertains to data and not prompting, but it's called garbage in, garbage out. And it also definitely applies to prompting. And the reality is that when most people start out prompting, what they're doing is, their sort of initial idea about what they want in terms of what kind of output they're hoping to receive. But prompting is a totally different mindset. You have to think about, how can I characterize what I want in a way that feeds the AI with enough information to give me a high quality response? So that means, for instance, presenting a character as if you want the AI to kind of inhabit a particular role. So for instance, I might say, to start out, imagine you're a world-renowned expert on artificial intelligence working for a major research university. And I'll begin there by letting it know what I want it to be and how I want it to approach the topic. Then feeding it things like examples. What is a good example of the kind of output that you would expect? And then ask me follow-up questions. If I'm not happy with the output, ask me if there are things I would like to change about it. And so it begins more of a dialogue between you and the AI system that is iterative to hopefully reach a good result that will provide the kind of output that you're actually looking for. So it's a little bit more complex than just write me an essay.
Yeah. Because any kind of essay will come from the prompt, write me an essay.
Exactly.
As I understand it, more specific you can be. I was going to say specificity, but the more detail you can prompt with.
Much better.
Yeah.
So that you could totally tell the difference between a really good prompt and then kind of a starter prompt. And the good ones are oftentimes very long and provide a lot of detail, but then doing that back-end work will help you to achieve the kinds of outputs to answer the questions or to perform tasks that you're really interested in.
Yeah. Want to make sure that we talk a little bit more about the course, and then before we wrap up, as I understand it, this course open to all. People can still register. People can still get involved, even though it started here. This podcast is coming out on a Thursday, which would be 1 week from when the course opened. But people can still register. Tell me more about that element and when people would have to be done with the work in order to get this certificate.
Sure. So yeah, the reality is that no matter when you are starting this, as long as you finish and complete the assignments that are associated with it by December 31st, 2025. You're eligible to receive the certificate completely for free. So if you come across this in November, for instance, and you thought, oh, this would be a really great opportunity, you can then go back and watch the recorded sessions that were broadcast live and make up for that lost time, complete the assignments, still get your certificate. So it's not as if it's a completely cohort-based model. It's basically more of a time-based model. And then after December 31st, when we start 2026, it'll be offered at $249. So you really want to get in while the getting's good, provide this opportunity for yourself at no cost to you.
Is the benefit to me just the learning that I'll have there? Is there a benefit for having a certificate?
So I would say both, right? So on the one hand, it's going to give you a lot of information about where we are with AI technology and how to use it. But then also you're going to get a UNF credential offered through our professional and lifelong learning that as our stamp of approval, because we have vetted the people who are providing the instruction, we've developed the training materials and everything like that. So this is really a great opportunity to get something for free with the UNF brand on it.
And potentially that helps me with my employer or my future employer that I want to make sure they know I understand this industry.
Exactly. So if you're trying to signal to an employer, whether it's a future one or your current employer, that you do have kind of a base level understanding of AI, maybe how to apply it in the working world, irrespective of the kind of industry that you're in, this is a way of telegraphing that you have that particular knowledge.
What's an easy way for somebody to connect if they didn't get the link when it was sent out, if they haven't seen an advertisement, if they didn't know, how do they go find more information and maybe join up on this course?
It's really easy. You just go to unf.edu/AI, and it's a link at the very top of the page. Just click that link. It'll bring you to the place where you can register, and you can start right there.
Is this the first of many kind of courses that we'll see like this at UNF?
So we already have a number of digital badges and certificate programs offered through professional and lifelong learning that are AI focused. I would encourage people to check those out as well. But this is perhaps the first of the kind of massively online certificates focused on these big picture issues that we're hoping to roll out in the near future.
Our guest today, Dr. Josh Gellers from UNF. Thank you so much. Appreciate the time. And thank you so much for taking the time to be with us on the podcast. Of course, wherever you find your podcasts here, go ahead and like, subscribe, and follow. We'll see you again next week.